Because yeah, what? Okay, let's do a quick review of what we're actually gaining by running tactics over anything else. Okay. So what are we gaining? We're gaining 3 might on burst, and this is in the context of roaming, so no one else is around. So the benefits of all the benefits it gives to other people is irrelevant. We're purely looking at what it gives us as a roamer. So we're getting 3 might on burst, and that's it. I mean, granted, it's a minor, but 3 might on burst, which, yes, synergizes with might makes right, but that's all you're getting out of the minor there. Lake Specialist is strong. It's 7% damage boost, and you're getting immobilized on cripples. 5-second neutral cooldown, which is, but it's still better than nothing. Versus a 970 heal on burst as well, which is tiny. And if you're using Warhorn, which is not advisable as a solo roamer, as I've tested, like the opportunity cost of running Warhorn over shield or literally anything is really high as well. So Roaring Ribier, I don't know how to pronounce that word. That's not even worth taking. Increased damage for every boon on you. If you're roaming, you're not going to have a ton of boons on you, so this is maybe an average 2%, 3% boost. Not really that high. What else we got? More damage. If you're roaming, you're going to be dealing with someone's entire health bar. And while there is a fair amount of barrier out there, it's not a high enough uptime as it's not as high of an uptime as you would see in a group situation where you've got Scourges and Elementals and everyone else who generates barrier flying around. So people aren't going to have barrier a whole bunch. So this is, you get 25% for like a strike or two, which is nice for bursting, but you only get it once in a fight, essentially, unless it's a super punkery build. And then the barrier, we'll just say it's mostly irrelevant. Just because the situations where you're fighting a barrier target are too few to be relevant. This Shake It Off is nice as a solo roamer, but at the same time, you could just as easily run, whatchamacallit, Brawler's Recovery in Discipline. You could run Berserker Stance, which is this but better. The healing, how many are you removing? 1. So you're getting 500 healing. Again, that's not a whole lot. You get more from spamming Might. And Empower Allies, it's a free 100 power. Again, you can get an equivalent amount of value out of another line. Cunning situation 1v1s, but extremely powerful versus scrappers. Cunning was, yeah, like certain situations, it is a very good trade. Certain situations, you will get a lot of value out of this. But comparing it to what you get and the situations you run into while roaming, that situation is too few and too infrequent, unless you're literally just in a match with scrappers. And then let's see, applying a might to an ally heals you. This counts to yourself, but we already have, like, this would be more healing for the might we're generating from, like, Force of Greatsword, but if you're running defense, you've got Adrenal Health, which is much better than that, especially if you're in a sustained fight. So it's, and what we got in the Masters, or in the Grandmasters. To be honest, I haven't even really noticed Martial Cadence. A 3-second reduced charge time every, what, 15 seconds? Yeah, every 15 seconds you get 3 seconds off of your cooldowns. That's... like, in clutch situations, I could see this being really nice, but how often is it going to be a clutch situation where everything lines up to where you get Cadence to proc when you need it? And if you're running a lot of the other weapon cooldown traits, your cooldown's already fast enough as it is. Vigorous Shouts, you're really only getting value out of this if you're running Shake It Off, which you probably will be as a roamer, unless you're running Cunning. Again, it's not a lot of healing. Like, it's healing, yes, but you could very easily get similar effects out of another line. Like, you could run Rousing Resilience with a Berserker build. You could run... You've got things like Adrenal Health. You've got Might Makes Right. Like, you're getting more healing through other effects without gimping your ability to deal damage effectively. Does this... I think this affects the cooldown of this, right? No, it does not. It does not. So that doesn't even... This doesn't even really help your Shake It Off. It only affects if you're running shouts on your bar, which... And then Failing Strength is a dead trait for a roamer because you're not going to be with anyone. Solo roamer, I should say. If you're running... if you're doing, like, party roaming, Tactics is great because all of its effects scale up. If you're not solo roaming, if you are havocing or you're roaming even with one other person, then Tactics is valuable. Then you get a lot more out of Tactics. But looking at it from a solo roaming perspective, it's not worth taking. It's the opportunity cost of taking Tactics as a solo roamer is too high. And again, I'm gonna what's the word? I'm gonna say this again. This is very much fitting a square peg in a round hole. I know Tactics is not designed for solo roaming. I know this is intended for group situations, but I figure I should still explain and go over why it's not why you shouldn't do it in a solo roaming situation. Kasapi, what up, welcome. Well, things you see often that run are Weavers, Scrappers. Well, yes, because they're mainly the only ones that have a lot of barrier uptime. They have a counter trait for Scrappers though. Very rough, but yeah, like there are niche situations where as a solo roamer, Tactics has more value, but again, it's not an issue of Tactics being necessarily bad for roaming. It's a situation where the main benefits you get out of Tactics as a solo roamer are too niche. They're too infrequent. Like Warrior's Cunning, yeah, great against Scrappers. But great against Scrappers, great against Weavers, depending on the build, great against Scourges. But unless you're in a matchup where a majority of the other roamers you're running into have or are those builds, you're not getting a lot of not a lot of value out of Cunning. And things like Cadence. It's nice when everything lines up, but how often are things going to line up? It's Tactics for a solo roamer. While it can work, you're losing too much for too little game. And that's going to be my conclusion from all of this testing is it works. If you're in a group roaming situation, it's great. But if you're solo roaming, it's not worth the trade-off. So, there we go.